These are true stories of people that have reported seeing a beautiful blonde woman stranded on the side of the road. She has a white gown on that looks like something you would go dancing in, but from kind of the area of the 1930s. You're not going to let her sit there stranded on the side of the road. You're going to stop and pick her up. And that's exactly what has been happening. And I'm going to get into those stories. By the way, if you're new to the channel, I'm Dr. Andrew O'Connor. Welcome to the channel. And if you've heard any of these stories and if you've experienced anything, please comment below. Well, this is the story of Resurrection Mary. Yeah, called Resurrection Mary because it's been said that she may be buried in the Resurrection Cemetery. So again, this is all happening in the Chicago, Illinois area. And again, my husband was at work talking to someone who actually lived in the area and said, "Hey, has your wife heard of Resurrection Mary?" Now, the only thing I could think about that is growing up as a kid in Chicago, which, by the way, was the best childhood ever to be in Chicago. Loved that. But I remember us girls, we would hang out in the girls' bathroom at school, and we would say things like, if you turn off the lights and you stand in front of the mirror and you say, "Mary, Mary," whatever, 3 times, she's going to appear. Well, kind of growing up, I always thought that was attributed to the old tales of Bloody Mary. But now I've kind of thought about it. I'm like, were these stories referencing Resurrection Mary? Because this is a very big folk tale and a haunted tale in Chicago. So a lot of drivers, particularly men, will be just driving down Archer Avenue in Illinois, and they come across in the middle of the night, and usually it's between the hours of midnight and 3 a.m., of course, but they see this beautiful blonde woman in a really nice white dress. And of course, they pull over and stop. This woman, very gentle, ethereal, comes in the car, sits in the back seat, and just gently guides the driver like they need to get over there to, this area where the Resurrection Cemetery is. I think they usually just say a street from the different stories. And then when the driver pulls over to let her out, they turn around and she's gone. And they swear that they picked up this person. Now, this is interesting. I have a picture. Now, apparently, this was taken in the area. This was taken in Chicago in the 1960s. Take a look at this. Supposedly, people are saying this is Resurrection Mary. I'm going to show you here now. Now, we're going to get close up so you can see. When I first looked at that, it looked like a blur, but you're going to see the face. Okay, very blurry. Looks just kind of like light and electricity, but look at the face on top of there. And looks like a woman in her 20s or 30s with a white gown. This is in the Chicago Historical Museum, and apparently people are saying that is a photo of Resurrection Mary. I find that fascinating, but I can't prove if it is or isn't. If you have more information about that, please comment below. But it's interesting because years and years of people having these stories of picking up this hitchhiker and then she's gone. Well, they got a police report because in the 1970s, there was another call. Someone said that they saw someone yelling for help stuck behind the gates of the Resurrection Cemetery. A woman, a young, beautiful woman stuck behind the gates late at night. Apparently, everything was locked up. And of course, the driver pulls over and, I got to find a way to get her out, ends up calling the police. They come out, nobody's there. But the curious thing was the police were searching around the gates and wherever, and they found a section of the gate of this cemetery where the bars had been pulled down, and literally there were handprints left of the area where the bars were pulled down. Now, I'm not saying that a spirit, a ghost, a disembodied energy has the power to pull down a fence. I'm not saying that, but I have to stay open-minded because this is how we learn and grow, right? But I do think it's an interesting coincidence that could there have been a real person in there? Could it be poltergeist activity? That activity is strong enough to cause a lot of violence, but pulling bars down, it's just an interesting part of the story, is it not? Maybe it was someone that just came in there and did that, but That is part of the lore of that. So where is this? Where does this come from? Well, apparently there was a woman who was young and beautiful and liked to go out dancing at night. And the dresses were beautiful back then. You think of the 30s, you're coming off the roaring 20s when they had the beautiful jeweled gowns and the flapper gowns. I wish that fashion would come back in. I would wear that every day. I probably should just start doing it anyway. But she was beautiful. She'd go out dancing, and she was there was a dance hall called the O. Henry. And there was a lady in that time period. It was around the 1930s. Mary was dancing, and then she left one of the dance halls, and there was a terrible car accident. And I guess it happened on Archer Avenue, and she did not survive, of course. And so people are guessing that this might have been Resurrection Mary. Now, they've done stories about this on Unsolved Mystery. There's been some horror movies based on this. And, I think all over the world, people do have a story about picking up hitchhikers and nobody's there. They renamed the O. Henry Ballroom. It's later named the Willowbrook Ballroom, located in Willow Springs. Researchers have tried to determine the identity of Mary. So again, there was one Mary that was dancing like around I'm going to say 1930s in a car crash. And then they said there was another Mary, much, much younger, that was in an accident as well. So they haven't really been able to pin it down. But the common thread is these ghostly figures. Usually people say she manifests as a lonely guest coming out of a dance hall. And after a long night of dancing, she's asking these, male drivers driving by, can she have a ride home? She gets in the back seat, whispers where to go. And by the time they reach Archer Avenue, by the time they reach this area or by the cemetery, vanishes without a trace. I think, I used to drive when I would do hospice. And again, I've talked about this before, when I worked the night shift on hospice and I was out all areas of town, all areas of the night, driving around. I think if I saw someone on the side of the road who looked like a young woman by herself, I would definitely pick her up. I would. And if she disappeared out of my back seat, I don't think I would freak out or anything, but I would be like, okay, go surreal. And again, who can explain it? I'll show this picture again because that's kind of what, yeah. Imagine you see that at the side of the road. Right? Imagine that. So other people have said Resurrection Mary wears a wedding dress made of silk, satin, and lace. They're really blown away because she is so beautiful. And I just feel like that's so sad that this beautiful spirit is haunting the roadsides of Archer Avenue. And is it an imprint of the trauma that happened there? Because let's hope that she really did cross over, but it's just an imprint. Have you drove down Archer Avenue? Are you from Chicago? Have you heard of this story? Comment below if you have. I think it's fascinating. Thanks for being here.